Yo, 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 it's your boy Glenn Lawrence, and I got a special guest with me tonight. See, she's like so special. Like in my mind, like she's special. You know why? Because hers my girls. That's right. Hers my girls. We got Coco up in the house. What's going on, love?
What's going on?
So, it's funny because you and I have talked about a lot of things, and we are very congruent on pretty much everything. We're pretty solid on all the major things I think of, you know. And so when the topic came up as if you were a guy, besides after we got past the part where you said you would flip your penis around like an elephant trunk.
Yes, that would be awesome.
Besides doing that, once we finally got past that 10 minutes later.
And I actually got to have sex with a girl so I could actually see what the hubbub is about from a guy's
Yes,
point of view.
yes. Once we got past all that fun stuff, all the unnecessary talking points, you said that, if you were a guy that you wouldn't want to be fucking around with these modern day women, you wouldn't want to get married to these women, or you would understand like the risks, or like what'd you say again?
That if I said there's benefits about being a guy, like you don't have you have an Audi, you don't have an innie, so like you guys compete anywhere if you really gotta go. Like
Not true, because there's some places if you end up going pee, you can get a ticket and go to jail.
I understand,
you get indecent exposure. Like girls, you guys squat and hide, and nothing happens to you.
I get that, but I mean, like, if you guys were in the car, you could just like unzip it and whip it out and like go in a Gatorade bottle or something, and then
do you know how difficult that is sometimes? Because like you could risk peeing on yourself. Sometimes
it's a risk you're willing to take. It's a lot harder.
Snake is like this, and you just like.
It's a lot harder to do with the woman though. Like you actually got to find two rocks, one for each cheek, or one. Anyways, so
two rocks, like for what?
You got to have a rock.
All you guys do is hover. You gotta do is hover.
No, because I have actually done that once. Granted, this is when I was a lot younger, and there was drinking involved, and I lost my footing. Let's just put it that way.
You fell in your own piss, huh? That's a good one. Good one. But continue.
Like there are some beneficial factors as far as being a guy like that, and you don't have to have birth, and your body doesn't have to go through all of that changes. You guys don't go through menopause. Like so there are things that naturals women biology that men don't have to go through, which is a blessing. So yay for guys.
Well, there's some kind of, menopause-ish thing. It's called low T. Like the older the guys get, they start dropping their testosterone, and then they get moody, right? Their testosterone levels get low, and they start crying over commercials about cats and, Sarah McLachlan singing, so like there's something. We may not get the hot flashes and shit.
Well, yes, but you guys also can, it's an easier maintainable, like you guys can go to the doctors, you guys can get injections and stuff like that to make yourself balance. And you don't have to worry even also about the weight gain because you can still find a substitution.
Well, actually that's true. Like, no, it's not true because the lower the testosterone drops, when your testosterone drops, the harder it is to lose weight. So like, if those guys,
though, right?
But most men don't even realize that they have low T.
I understand, but I'm saying that you have a fix, though.
Well, yeah, there's
I was aware he could go.
There's a way, yeah.
Yes, and it's a lot easier for men because they're awesome, in so many ways. That wasn't sarcasm. They're amazing. I think guys are like the greatest thing that God ever created.
But you know what? On the flip side, it's like I think the same thing about women sometimes. It's like
you enjoy their company.
Well, yeah, they're amazing sometimes. Some of them.
Anyway, so you guys have benefits. You don't have to go through all that. But if I was a guy, single guy, in today's society, I actually would not. I wouldn't want to date anybody in America.
Well, you would be a passport bro.
I mean, in all honesty, okay, if I was loaded, let's just say I was a good-looking guy. I think I'd be a really decent-looking dude.
Look at Cody. Go look at Cody.
No, I would
I'm just, I'm just saying, you have to go look at your brother and then be
no,
like,
yeah, but have you seen me though? Like, if I'm
I
this
mean,
good
of
looking
course
as
I've
a
seen
woman, could you
you.
imagine if I was a guy?
You would look
Wow.
like the most prettiest gay guy there ever was.
I wouldn't look this feminine features, but I'm saying I think I would still be a pretty good looking dude. But anyways, if I was loaded, great looking, um, and of course, I actually think that I would go to a country of a nationality race that I would be okay with actually like looking for a wife. Um, because the cultures and their values on marriage and the roles that they play are completely different than here in America.
what culture or what country do you think that would be? If you had a guess, if you just had a guess.
I don't know. I know the Philippines are really big on that. Um,
Yeah,
Philippines are
Philippines.
really big. I know a lot of Filipino people, and they're really big on that. I mean, for me, they're
Mhm.
too short. Um,
But you will be a guy, so technically you probably wouldn't care how short she is. You probably just will be more concerned if she was too tall, taller than you.
that's true, but I mean, I think I know that there are a lot of women like that in Costa Rica,
Yep. I
where my
gotta be
family grew up.
Costa
So I think I
Rican.
would probably go out there.
I
Um,
did.
you didn't go out there to find.
Well, I didn't go out there to get you, but I
Right.
got one of
Yeah.
them.
Right. And the women, as long as they maintain themselves and take care of themselves, the women are absolutely beautiful.
I
So
concur.
probably like somewhere like that. But it's just different. And out here, it's women are marrying men as starter husbands to build an income basis. Basically, they're like a stepping stone. So women are
Yeah, it's like
getting
a promotion.
yeah, they're literally marrying men so they can divorce them later on down the road in a few years, cash in on them, and then marry another person until they find their forever person, but have enough to basically just live off of. Like, I would never want to be subjected to that. Women have absolutely no concept of what real love and what a marriage and a relationship is today, because also sex is constantly thrown in their face. Like, women have changed so much from like the 1920s and 30s to 50s to now. Women used to be way more conservative. And granted, people were still hoeing around in the 50s, having sex in the back of cars at make out point. But like, they dressed appropriate. There wasn't like, you had to literally go and like get those magazines or those little deck of cards to see a woman somewhat naked. And she was just in her brassiere and her undergarments. Like,
Well, I
that,
mean,
that ankle dough.
that ankle.
That ankle.
When that girl showed that ankle, I'm telling you. And whoo, that ankle used to get it going on.
Yes.
But it's funny because it's like it wasn't like hoeing around wasn't going on. Like hoe's been a thing since like the Bible's days. I
But they
mean,
weren't nearly as
it's
frequent or as in your face and everywhere.
we had social, and we had social, boundaries and things in place that were to safeguard people from dealing with them as much. You know what I'm saying? Like prostitution for the most part, and well, in America for the most part, other than Nevada, has been illegal. You know, recently they just decriminalized the hoeing part, but but the guy, if he ended up doing the soliciting part, paying for it, he can still get arrested. But the bitch won't get arrested for fucking you and asking you for money, but you will get mad. You'll get put her in jail if you paid for it.
Yeah, she's not gonna get in trouble for literally like opening a trench coat naked in front of you and say "fuck me." And the guy's like, "Well, I haven't had sex in like 6 months to a year." Okay, like somebody wants to have sex with me, and then he jumps on it, and then
The guy was probably just praying too. Dear Lord, just please, one of these days, just let one woman just line up my penis. You want me to fuck you? Oh, thank you, God. you know?
exactly. But he'll get in trouble, and she can turn around and seriously like cry rape or some bullshit, and then he gets in trouble, and like, I as a man don't want that kind of fear. I don't want to be somebody's stepping stone for them to take everything that I worked so hard for, when my original goal, the reason why I was with you, is because I had my empire, but I wanted to build us an empire. I wanted us to have this that we have talked about, this dream, this lifestyle, the things that we wanted to do, only for you to be completely manipulative and blindside me and have alternative motives to where basically you're just like, well, I can cash in on this guy, so I'm just going to do that. But I'm going to pretend that I love him. I'm going to pretend like I'm this. I'm going to pretend that I'm that, this kind of woman. And then all of a sudden, boom, hit him with divorce papers.
So let's say hypothetically, you're a guy and you
Okay.
end up finding a girl, right? And you're like, man, I want to stay with her. I want us to like live together. But let's say you have religious beliefs and you're like, although I just don't want to do the marriage thing because of the shit show that it is, you know, but you don't want to like, be disobedient to God, right? Like that's more of a problem at the end of the day. So would you get married to her and would you like get like prenups or anything like that? Would you like do like would you get like I know you, but I'm pretty sure like nobody else is gonna hear you say this, but I'm gonna say it for you and you can tell me whether or not it's true or not. You probably had the most ironclad prenup if you were a dude. Like it would be like you are it would she wouldn't be able to get shit from you, probably.
Yeah, it would be. I do believe in marriage. I believe in the sanctity of what marriage is actually supposed to be and what it stands for. Like that is it's such a deep vow and commitment and there's a lot that goes into it when you're actually married to a person. You don't just get up and walk away and be like, screw you. Like you're supposed to work through those hard times. That's the reason why you also took those vows. There's a reason why there's a meaning behind those vows because being in a relationship and being married, like even just being in a regular relationship, you don't have to be married, but just in a relationship in general, it's never easy. There's gonna be issues. But if if you love the person, if you love her, if she respects you, and you guys are equally yoked, you have common ground on structures of things that you guys actually believe in, then why would you just quit because what? We argue? That's stupid. So I would still get married, but absolutely, I would be like, hey, look, so I would explain to her exactly how it's going to go. Like, one, I would say, this is the dynamic of our relationship. This is what our marriage is going to look like. And obviously, it's not going to be like I'm a controlling person. I'm just in control of the relationship because I want to lead us to success. This is your role as my wife. This is my role as your husband. These are things I'm going to do for you. And here's the contract.
I don't think it's a controlling thing. I think it's like, when a marriage takes place, the woman defers her authority as like a single individual to make her own free choices. Not talking about her like on like what she wears or anything like that, but like when it comes to what's going to be allowed within the household, what's going to be in the confines of this relationship, she has to defer that power and authority to her husband.
Yes,
Like
I just mean like we have talked before that there is a difference between being controlling and
yeah,
being
yeah,
in control. That's what I meant. Like
yeah.
I'm not going to be controlling, but I am in control of our relationship and our household to make sure that it stays within the frame that's going to make us the most successful. And then I would have a prenup and be like, so if you do want to get married, I would love for us to get married, but I do require a prenup. And the prenup is going to be ironclad. I'm going to have
Now
someone.
that's if you do it through the state. Would you ever do it just a covenant marriage? Because here's the funny thing. Biblically, the covenant marriage is way more like serious than a contractual marriage. See, a contractual marriage, when you could do it with the state, you're saying it's like a business contract, right? X is going to do this for Y, and Y is going to do this for X. And if Y breaches their contract, X gets to leave, and that's a contract, right? That's what the state does. When you get your marriage license, that's what all that is. A covenantal marriage, when it comes, when it has to do with, the Bible and the religious side of things, a covenantal marriage has nothing to do with the contract. It has, because a contractual marriage is I'm protecting me and you're protecting you. That's where there's a prenup, right? In a covenantal marriage, it's I'm protecting you and you're protecting me. It's weird. It's flipped, right? So it's in essence like that's where they get the whole unconditional or unconditional love, right? Because it goes like, from regardless of what you do, I made a covenant to take care of you, to love you, to be with you. So I should not be worried about, I have to be more concerned and more aware and be more committed to what I agreed to God with than I should be about what you're doing. Right. And then, so, and it's a really hard way to look at things, because you're like, well, wait a minute, what if this person cheats? Well, according to a covenantal marriage, although biblically you have grounds to divorce them, but the first process of your thought has to be, you know, my commitment is to this individual, and it's not based on what they do ever. And I think it's a lot harder.
I don't think that I kind of like that though, because in all honesty, if someone did cheat on me, I would leave. I
Well,
don't.
I don't
Tolerate cheating.
But from a biblical standpoint, that's the only reason why there should be a divorce. That's the only caveat to divorce.
Oh, but remember, wasn't there one that said like, if they weren't in your same faith?
Yeah, if they were unequally yoked. But see, here's the other thing: if they have to be unequally yoked, so you can't share the same faith, and they have to leave you. You can't leave them. So if they choose to stay with you,
could not correct them or convert them back into the faith that you could leave.
No.
Oh.
It's in Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians 7:15. Here, let me just do a little quick Google search because I want to be accurate.
While you're doing that, I'll answer your question. I personally think that I would still do a state marriage. I mean, I don't know if you can do both. I would do both if that's the case, but I would still get married.
But why would the state, like, why would you want to give her a state marriage?
I don't know. In all honesty, maybe it's because I've actually never had a covenantal marriage. So, and like, I feel like you're almost going through the exact same things. Like you have a pastor there, you know, you're saying your vows, you're doing your biblical stuff. So for me, I feel like it's kind of like one and the same thing, but I would have a prenup to where I wouldn't be worried if we got a divorce, because I would list exactly the things. Like if she had done this X, Y, or Z, then she gets nothing in the divorce.
Let me show you what it says right here in 1 Corinthians 7, 15. Can you see it? Or did I zoom in too far?
Scroll down a little bit because I'm on 8, or scroll up.
Sorry. Okay, so it's right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It says, if the unbelieving partner separates, let it be so. In such case, the brother or sister is not enslaved. God has called you to peace. So basically,
they would have
it requires them leaving you and them being unbeliever, right? So it's like they have to like just like, you know what? While you're at church and praying and doing the Jesus thing, they're like, I'm out. And they like, you come home and they're gone, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So like if they have to leave you, you can't just be like, dipping out on them though. I think a lot of people probably think that's the case. And they're like, well, I was a believer and they weren't, and I left and I got with my pastor instead.
That would be foul. But no, I still think that I would get married by this date. I don't think that would bother me, especially if I had a very, very good, solid prenup. Because she would automatically know. And if she had an issue signing it, if she was like, I know I have heard women pull that and be like, I don't want to sign a prenup. Why should I sign a prenup? Like, do you not trust me? It's a whole manipulation game to just throw you off. Like, they're trying to get what they want because they don't want to have to be held accountable. Because like, that me automatically shows that they have insecurities within themselves that they cannot hold themselves to a standard. That they're saying if X, Y, and Z. Like, if there's infidelity, you get nothing. If there's this, you get nothing. Like, you get nothing if these things happen. If you continue to disrespect me and we don't correct that behavior, I will divorce you. Like these types.
What would you think about, like, let's say like you love them and you wanted to still be married, but they just didn't want to be married to you anymore. They just were tired of you. They're just done with you. Like there's no reason, like you didn't do anything wrong. There's no fault done. Do you still think that like you should have to pay alimony to them for that?
Hell no. I'd be like, here, this is what we're gonna do. We're going to figure out our assets. you know,
Like
split
what you acquired while you were
while we were
married.
together, here, let's figure out how we're gonna do this, and then we'll divide things evenly. Like if you want the house, you just buy me out, or vice versa. Then that's your business, but we'll divide everything evenly. Because I would rather them come to me and tell me that, and then to be blindsided and find out that they're cheating. And it would suck if I was still in love with that person, but I can't force them if I'm not doing anything wrong or anything different. It's just, it can happen. So
Yeah.
I would
Like,
divide things evenly, but then that's all they get. So the money that they get from us division, that's all that they get. That's it. That's what you got to survive off to give yourself a good start. So that way you can start working or figure out what you need to do in your life. But you're the one that is coming to me telling me that you are no longer in love with me. So why should I have to pay you when I'm not the person that fell out of love?
exactly.
And
And
if
I
I
think
haven't
like
done anything wrong or anything different to allow that kind of behavior from you.
exactly. And I think I think certain states, like I think Texas is a state that is a fault divorce, or you have to have fault in order to receive like alimony or anything. Like, there's something has to have had been done. Like there has to have been cheating that you could prove in court. There has to be spousal abuse that yet you could prove in court, or like abandonment or something like that. Everything has to be proven
I think
in
that that's
court.
great. I think that's how it
I,
should be everywhere.
I think every state should adapt that, but like
I do too.
I'll be like, you know what, Texas is looking real good right about now. But like the thing is, like you have to get the. It doesn't matter where you get married. You just have to be living in there when you get divorced in order for the state,
Ah,
you know what
you
I'm
start
saying?
seeing things go south. You're like, hey, do you want to move to Texas? And you move
No, you
around.
just be like, you know what? I got a new job in Texas. We're moving to Texas.
Ah.
You already see the end of the
You're
tunnel.
catching all the signals and all the red
Yeah, you're
flags.
like, you know what? We're
Be
moving
a
to
good time for a
Texas.
move.
Yep, yep. But it's funny because you're a woman, and this is what you're saying. But if a guy told women that today,
Oh God, couldn't have it.
they would be like, "You're so unromantic." I mean, no, even like guys like Hafiz or Ruslan, right? Like if they heard a guy told a girl that today, they'd be like, "Well, then you're just going into it expecting it to fail." And it's like, no, no, it has nothing to do with expecting anything to fail. What I'm saying is like, I'm being smart. I love you. I really want this to work out. I want us to spend the rest of our lives together. But just in case you get a change of mind down the road, I'm protecting myself, because I shouldn't have to lose everything because you change your mind on your commitment. You decided to renege on your vows.
Right.
I shouldn't have to pay the consequence for your decisions. You
Right.
know, and it's funny because like those guys, those kind of guys, especially the trad cons, and like guys like Matt Walsh, and I just laid into his ass the other day with a new video. Those type of guys, they don't get it. They think like guys should just go on, get married, risk it. If you're just doing everything right, then she's why do they say that? Like, why do they say if you're just a perfect husband, then she's just gonna automatically want to be with you for the rest of your life?
I don't know why. Well, one, there's no such thing as perfect. In all honesty,
Well, as close to perfect as that person could humanly possibly be.
I don't know. I mean, if you get married to somebody, like me being a woman, if I married somebody and they were everything that I've ever wanted in a husband, and we get married,
So me, I get it. Yeah.
and that never changed and never faltered, and everything about our relationship had always stayed the same. The way that we communicated with each other, our intimacy level, the way we still keep ourselves healthy and attractive from one another, us being on the same page of things, going to church, whatever the case is, if we're doing everything the same and also having valuable quality time together, like whether it's trips or getaways or something to keep ourselves, keeping that romance and fire and getting creative in the relationship, then I do see where they're coming from. Where I don't see how a woman could ever really get tired of that. I could only see a woman getting tired of it if her husband had gone soft and he
Well,
was
see,
no longer masculine and he
well,
turned more into soft.
I think that, anybody making a statement so definitive, like if you just do this, it's like an old proverb, right? Think of the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come.
They will come. Yeah.
Well, like, what if you built it and they never showed up? So then you're going to be mad at the person that told you if you built it, they will come. And then when you go back to them, you're like, well, I built this. Nobody's there. And because that doesn't make sense, because it opens the door for them to just keep on punting and not like taking responsibility for the statement they're saying. Because this is what a lot of those guys will say. They're like, well, you must not have been the good servant leader. If you were just doing everything you were supposed to be doing, if you were just a really good servant leader, like what they preach in the church, like if you're a good servant leader, then you know what, your wife wouldn't have cheated on you,
No, no,
or
no, no.
your wife would have stayed.
Then what are they explaining? Like what is their example of a good servant leader?
Jesus. Be like Jesus.
Yeah, and everybody wanted to be with Jesus. So obviously they're not doing things the way that Jesus did then, obviously, right? Because
But like,
everybody wanted to be around him.
but who humanly on this earth could be like Jesus? He was the only one that
Exactly.
was
So then they
sinless and
can't make
flawless.
that statement definitive.
Exactly.
It sounds completely logical. Now, if they also took statistics like from older couples and older generations when life in homes, nuclear, the nuclear family homestead had been in play, I know people that are still together, still madly in love with each other. But they also lived in a different era with different morals and values of like how the household was supposed to be, how marriage was, what it actually meant, those types of things. So yes, it can work and it has been proven to work. But in today's day and age, they can't make those kind of statements because people don't operate the same as they did 50 years ago.
Yeah, because before marriage, well, some people say, well, it was women didn't have the choices and freedom that they did to just divorce their husbands like they do now. So they just were forced to stay in them, and they probably wouldn't have chosen to stay in them if they had the same freedoms. And I would say, probably true for some, but I don't think the majority of them would have done it that way. I think that there was a understanding and belief, and a deeper conviction about marriage and that commitment back then than what we do have now. So, I think there might be some people would have done that, but I don't think the majority of them would. Everything was a lot different back then.
Yeah.
So, but when they say like that, like be a servant leader, I'm just like, well, that may be so. You may have work to do as a servant leader or whatever the case is, but at the same time, if they're not giving you the respect and if they're not submitting to you, then they're not going. It doesn't matter how great of a servant leader you are. It's what I'm saying. It's like they excuse the fact, or they just don't realize that women and men are free thinking. They can make their own decisions. They can choose what they want, regardless of what's going on. Like, they're not compelled to do anything just because someone else is doing X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could choose. If someone is being offensive to you or being mean to you, you could choose to leave that scenario. If someone's abusing you, you can make the choice to leave. But you could also make the choice to stay. And so there's a choice that has to be made. And the individual, nobody can control an individual's choice. So saying like, oh, if you just be this servant leader and you just do this all the time and you're just perfect like this, then they won't leave. And it's like, you don't know that because you can't control people. God gave people free will for a reason.
Well, plus you also have to play in the fact, like, if like in your example, you built the field and nobody's coming, but like, so that means that you have created a good empire. You are creating that atmosphere and you're waiting for somebody, but you're like, nobody's here. Like, in that scenario, like they can't make statements for people like that, be like, oh, you just be a servant leader and they'll never leave you. Yeah, but you also don't want to be a good servant leader and then bring somebody in that is completely narcissistic.
Or that doesn't deserve that kind of servant leader.
Yeah, exactly, because what they're doing is they're manipulating you and the situation because they see what you have as desirable. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because they could look at if a guy is not vetting a woman properly because he's like, oh, somebody's actually coming to my field. And they get really excited and they're like, look at all this stuff that I could like provide for us.
They're coming on my field. They're coming all over my field. They're coming all over my field.
Hats, I got gears, I got all of it. Like, what do you want? Like, you want it all? Like, give it to you. Like, so they're just super over enthusiastic because they just so bad. They just want that person that they're meant to be with, you know, and to have to share that with for everything, all the hard work that they put in to build that. But then modern women, all they see is fucking dollar signs. That's all that they see. They don't see like, wow, like he has discipline. Like he has self-respect for himself. He knows exactly what he wants in life. He's hardworking. He's masculine, but he's caring. Like they don't see what is making of that man to
yeah, because they don't know what it took for him to acquire all that. Like they don't know what he went through.
Walking into it. Like they walk into it. They probably just think like, oh, he had helpers. Like
they're at the finish line and he said, yeah.
Yes. And like they don't see that he actually had to pour his own blood, sweat, tears, money, like backbreaking stuff, like to actually create that. They don't see that. And so, but a good old-fashioned woman that believes in like the nuclear family and the households and the role playing and biblical roles that we are supposed to have actually can look at that and then ask him, like, first we would be like, wow, did you build all this yourself? He'll be an honest, maybe like, yeah, but you know, I had somebody come in and do the wiring or whatever the case is, you know, but he's like,
let somebody install a fridge.
Exactly. I had a little problem with this, so the neighbors came over. But yeah, I built
the toilet was on the fritz and they just wouldn't flush properly.
I did all this myself. Like that would put somebody like me in absolute awe. Be like, wow, he can build this. Like, it's not like this is going to be so good at the end of this marriage. Like, that's not.
I only have to wait 10 years in this house and I get to.
How much time do I possibly have to give him so I can cash out as much as possible? Like, that's how women think. So, like, but if I know that they say that you technically don't, you want to have your kingdom already built before you bring somebody in. I have mixed feelings about that. I think if you're not already in a relationship, or like if you found somebody like, you know, and you're already building your empire like you're trying to, and you meet someone along the way that you're equally yoked with, I don't think that you should have to wait and be like, well, you need to be in a better place and be more secure and be all this and before you bring them in there. Because why? Because God made Eve Adam's helper. So if you found that,
yeah, she helped him right out of the Garden of Eden too.
Shut up. This is true.
Say it ain't so.
This is true. She was the first modern woman. So
she was the original modern woman.
She was the original, and it was all bad. Hence why everything now with modern women are all bad. So take a lesson from Eve. Hello.
What did we learn? What did we learn from Eve? She made bad decisions. She ate the wrong thing. Got everybody kicked the fuck out of it.
The reason why we also hate being a woman sometimes is because of her. So it's not like
you know that child
pain thing. Really hating women.
You know that child pain thing you got experience? Yeah, that's from eating an apple.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I don't necessarily think that a man has to wait to build his empire in order to bring, because also at the same time, a person who is with you from nothing and goes through the mud and muck of it has just as much of appreciation of what it is that it took for you to build it and her to be your helper to build that. As if you have a higher chance, this is my own personal opinion. I believe that you have a higher chance of risking somebody just taking advantage of you if you already have this giant empire and you're like the kingdom, like you're the king of your kingdom, and then she's just the little peasant girl that's walking around town, but then she catches her eye because she's attractive, and then she's like, hell yeah, I want to live in a castle. Like, it's not for the right reasons. Like, the likelihood of her being with somebody else is eventually going to fade. Her seeing you as an opportunity is higher chance than it being actually a genuine desire.
Yeah. So we're about to wrap it up, but I want to ask you one more question. Do you think women would be more inclined to get married if they actually were 50, just as likely to have to pay for their husband's alimony, and if he decided to leave, or if he decided to cheat with some other broad and leaves his wife? Do you think women, if women had to face the same equal consequences that men do when it comes to a divorce in the family, do you think there would be more marriages or less marriages?
Less. I think they would be reacting the exact same way as men. I think that they would be vetting a lot more properly. They'd be like, okay, I don't want to risk all this. Like if I'm a boss babe and I'm building my empire and I'm doing me boo boo. I don't want some guy just to come in here and then I have to pay him half of everything that I've worked before, that I've been building for 3 years before he even came into the picture. Like I think it would be the exact same thing. It would be a very, very hypocritical situation.
Good. That's good. That's a funny question. I'm glad you answered that question, because the next time we talk, we're going to be talking kind of about that, equality shit. That the girls with the vagina hats be marching around talking about. We're going to be talking about that.
Okay.
But thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Until next time, everybody. Peace.